How are y'all doing?
Hello.
Howdy.
How's it going?
It's going.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Same here.
This has got to be probably the worst. How are y'all doing?
Good. How you doing?
Good.
Surviving.
I understand that. That's good though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is my audio coming in okay? Just want to make sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Did you get your move done?
Yes, and things got delayed because of the whole issue, so we're still bringing things in, but we signed everything. Everything got signed. We got it at the house, everything, but it just took a little longer than expected.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
we're in limbo a little longer than I would want to be.
Absolutely. Ugh. Well, at least you didn't have to move in the rain.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Sorry, that's my daughter.
Oh, that's fine. Hey, we're going to have kids running in and out.
I told my husband, I'm like, just keep her on that side of the house.
I think mine are outside right now playing, so that'll last 10 minutes. So
That's good.
see if we get anybody else in here. All right, so is everybody well, I hope?
Yes.
Yep.
Feel good.
Yes.
Did the mayor come on today at 10:30 or whenever?
Yeah, it was like the Collin County judge and the mayor, and it sounded like they're doing shelter in place, but they're still going to keep restaurants open, that kind of thing.
Nice
Oh, cool.
background.
Yeah, I like your
Yeah, for real.
Thank
Yeah. SpongeBob. Oh yeah.
you. Thought I would liven it up a little.
That's sweet, man. I feel a competition coming on.
Oh.
That's great. I've heard from a couple of people that can't make it, but I was going to see if there's anybody else we can get in here. Well, I think everybody and their dog is using Zoom. So there are a few glitches right now. Soon I'll be able to get my iPad hooked up to this and be able to take you through in real time. So that'll be good. Right now, what I thought we could do is to look over the stuff that I've put on Canvas for you. And I've already uploaded some notes. I do have the ability to also record audio. But when I upload it to Canvas, it comes into two different parts. One is the PDF file, and one of them is the audio. So it's splitting itself. I don't know if that's going to be helpful or not. So I'm working on an alternative to that too.
Okay. Cool.
The big major change, we'll test online. That's the big major change. So that will be interesting.
How does it work? You asked my questions with the testing.
Absolutely. So what most of us are doing is instead of having, like usually we would show up on a Tuesday or Thursday and start our test at, what, 11:30?
Yes.
We're not going to be able to do that. So what I'm going to do is open the test for like 3 days and leave it open 24 hours each of those days so that you can go in and take it at your leisure.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay, so it's kind of a one-stop sitting type of thing. So once you start the test, you need to finish it. Okay,
Yes.
so I've blocked in there like a 2-hour time limit, simply because I think that'll give us all enough time. I hope.
Yeah.
If we need more time, then that's something that, you know, I can deal with on a one-on-one kind of thing. It'll be multiple choice. A lot of the questions will be. And so we'll want you to show your work on paper. Okay. and then you will just upload that to Canvas. And then that way, in case your answer is incorrect, I can give you partial credit for the problems that you have worked out.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So
Yeah.
we'll like take a picture of our work and upload that to Canvas along with our test.
Exactly. Exactly.
Cool.
Now, the way I set this first test up, and like I said, I may have to open up the window of time a little bit more, but on some questions, they're not multiple choice. And so it gives me the option to let you take a picture of that problem's work right then and upload it. So
Awesome.
you upload it per question instead of at the
Nice.
very end. Okay.
That's cool.
Okay.
So I think that will probably be the best thing to do. And then at the end of the test, like the problems that were multiple choice, just take a picture of all your work and upload it.
Mhm.
Okay, does that make
So I have a
sense?
question.
Sure.
If we take, like, you know how you were saying, like, we taking the test online or whatever. So what happens if we don't finish it in that 2-hour radio? Like, you know, like once you started, does it save your answers and you can go back, or like,
Yeah.
once you started, you have to finish? Like, how does that work? We can't hear you.
Yeah, your audio went out.
She did say it was kind of glitchy.
Am I
Mhm.
back in now?
Hey, there you
Yeah,
go.
we
Okay,
can
sorry
hear
about
you
that.
now. Yeah.
Very good.
We're trying to mimic it as much as we can as we would do in the classroom. The difference is, of course, you're on your honor as much as possible. That's always an issue with online tests. I'm not going to require a browser shutdown. I think that's too much trouble for you. So that's why we have a time limit.
That makes sense.
The time limit should be long enough for us to be able to answer the questions as necessary.
I mean, if the test is the same length as the other test, I mean, we
Yeah.
all finished it within that time limit, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I do have a question with the uploading the individual questions while you're like the ones you upload automatically.
Mhm.
So does that mean I'm gonna have to have the same browser on my phone? Because if you think about it, how am I uploading it to my computer without?
Yeah.
So do I go to, you see, so if I'm on my
Sure.
computer taking my test
Mhm.
and then I got to take a picture of it, of what I did and upload it right then, that means I got to take a picture with my phone. Do I have to
Mhm.
email it to myself
Yeah.
and then upload it? Or do I just go to this web browser on my phone as well and upload it through there? I'm just trying to think of, because that does
Yeah.
take time if I got to take a picture on my phone, email it to myself, then get it from my email. Sometimes emails don't come in right away. Get
Sure.
that pic. You see what I'm saying? I'm
Yeah.
curious.
Yeah, I tell you what, I've moved the test. I don't know if you've looked at all the
Yeah, for
stuff I've
next
put on there
Tuesday,
for y'all.
right?
And so like it would open up on, I think Sunday through Tuesday or Monday through Wednesday. It's one of those
Okay.
two. Anyway, let me, before I see y'all on Thursday, let me go in as a student and kind
Okay.
of
Play
do
with it.
that myself. It may be too much of a pain in the rear, to be honest with you.
That's what I'm thinking with the
Um,
uploading. I know it's important for the work sites, but I'm just
Right.
thinking of like, what if like there's just so many variables that can
Sure,
happen with
sure.
us uploading things. If
Yeah.
it's going to upload properly, if the
Mhm.
image has to be cropped specifically, if it only takes a certain size, you
Right.
know.
I think
So let me play.
Okay.
And it may be where we can, like where it says upload something, we can just bypass it
Okay.
and then put the answers, of course, in your work.
Yes.
yeah.
I think that I want to make it as easy as possible. So that
Yes.
may be what I need to do. Okay. So let me play with it, and then on Thursday I'll have a definite how it's going to go kind of thing for you.
Okay.
Okay. But yeah, that's a great point. I really do not want to make this, we want to make this as easy as possible to finish out this course.
Well,
That's what we want to do.
And the reason I asked too is because, like, for me, for my purpose, I took a course at school because I suck at online courses.
Exactly.
I really, when I say I'm struggling with homework right now, I am struggling because you were my lifeline. Going to class for those 3 hours, that was the lifeline for me. Like me not being there, I can watch YouTube videos, but they teach so many different ways to do one
Sure.
math problem. Where I
Sure.
figured, like when I go with you, even going to like sit, for example, when I would do the professors, they would teach it one way, but when you taught it, it just clicked because you made it, you really dumbed it
Easy.
down for me to understand it, if that makes sense, you know?
Sure. Sure.
So that's my concern with, like, yeah, I'm okay with the test and everything, but it just, the online, like, it's really, for me, it was concerning. I'm like, man, that's kind of sucky because like I suck at online courses.
Sure. Well, what we can do is I've got 2 ways to like give you the videos that are hooked into our Connect Math.
Okay.
I posted a how to get there kind of thing. I've also got now a list of URLs that I can activate and send to you as a list for the specific ones. So that'll help you get right to the videos, because I saw where, let's see, who was it? Lena had sent me a message about she couldn't find the videos. So I'll make sure that it's a little more obvious how to get to them, maybe.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay.
Okay.
The notes that I have for you guys, like I said, what I did with y'all, I just went ahead and annotated them, like in different colors and stuff like that. Hopefully that'll show up whenever you look at the picture.
Nice. Yeah.
Then that way too, I'm writing little notes to the outside of things of what we should be looking for.
Okay.
I'm trying to talk to you on the paper, I guess. So as you read it, you can see that.
That makes sense.
Cool. Yeah.
And then
Okay.
for the test itself, will we be penalized because we are sending specific notes on how we're doing problems? Let's say that because we are randomly sending all these images, what if one question that we answered, you can't find the work that's done? Are we going to be penalized for that?
I'm going to kind of keep it like I did before, where if there's not any work necessary, I've made that obvious to you.
Yes, yes.
What I'm hoping is that you'll kind of treat this test like a homework assignment. Like you'll write down problem number 1 and then show your work, and then you'll do problem number 2 and show your work. So if it's just scratch work, there's no way I'm going to be able to grade it.
That's what I'm yeah. So you want us to be as clear as possible on the scratch sheet, so that way you can see exactly the correlation for the ones on the test.
Exactly right.
That's what I'm trying to make sure.
It just makes it a lot easier for you too. I mean, because we want to make sure that now you have a document that you can look at. Once I call up those documents in Canvas, then I can actually write on them and send you back feedback on, okay, yes, this question's correct, but maybe you want to look at it this way, or this question's not correct, but it's only because you made a careless error. I still want to be able to annotate things like that on a document so that you can have that back.
Okay. All right.
That makes sense?
So whenever we're taking our test, do we have to write each question down on paper and work it out as if we were in class and upload it and send it to you? Is that correct?
Right. You'll upload it to Canvas. Like we'd be taking test 2 next. And so you would go to Canvas, and I've also got a little document in modules under Start Here that tells you how to upload things to Canvas for you.
Okay, so but there will be a designated area where it says something like, oh, uploads for test 2, so that
Absolutely.
we can send it there. Okay.
Absolutely. And if there's a problem, then you email me and I'll guide you there, or worst case scenario, you send it to me as a picture.
Okay.
You know, that's the worst case scenario, right?
Yeah, we could just email it to you and label what it is.
Right.
Okay.
Now, one thing that, again, trying to keep as much integrity on the test. Once you complete that test, then within the next 15 to 20 minutes, I need you to upload your work.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. One of the things that you're not going to see when you finish the test is which questions you got wrong.
Okay.
Okay. And what I'll do is I'll turn that on after the deadline for the test. And
Makes sense.
again, that's because I've got to make sure that,
Nobody cheats.
the
no
integrity of the
worries.
test is as
Makes sense. Makes sense.
good as possible, right?
That's cool.
If for some reason, and this is the biggest problem we have as teachers is, the scholastic dishonesty is very rampant unless we use a browser that will stop you from that. And that means everybody has to have a webcam. Everybody has to, it gets to be really
Finicky.
really hard, right, to manage for you. So, we're going to do the best we can. And the test that I had already made for y'all is the test that I went ahead and used in Canvas. So I didn't change anything. Well, I take that back. There's 2 questions that I couldn't get on there for some reason. And so I'll probably make them as bonus questions. I now know another way to put those up there. So, but
Okay.
we'll go with that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
What I wanted to show you is, let me see if I can share some stuff with you guys. Let me see if I can find it all. Oh, okay. Let me share this real quick. So, are y'all seeing a document on there?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, let me get it. All right, this is what you're going to find in each one of as we go through each testing period, I'll put up new documents for you. And in this case here, let's see if I can move this sucker. Okay, that's not any better. Okay. What I'll do is I'll annotate these as I can. Okay, and so like this first page for 2.6, this is the transformations. I'm going to be real honest with you. Wow, that didn't come, that looks like gross. Okay, I'll use different colors from now on that. That's a highlighter supposedly.
It's okay. It's fine.
But you're going to use your graphing calculator on all of this, okay? Basically, you're trying to tell me where is the picture moving. And so what we have to do is we have to know what the original picture would have looked like. We call them the parent. And so like here, in your notes, you'll see I filled all this stuff out. All I did was I took what they told me to use for X. I plugged it into each one of these, okay? And then I went over and I color coordinated everything for you so you could see it. Now, you can do the same thing on your graphing calculator, right? You could type in for Y equals. I always put my parent in there first so I can see how things are changing. But when you look at this parent, he starts at the origin and moves up this way following my arrow. Well, the blue one looks like it went up some and started and went this way. And so what we know is that this graph here has moved up 2 units, okay? Whereas this one here, you see how the 2 is underneath the square root?
Mm-hmm.
It actually took the graph and it should have started here at 0. It actually scooted it back 2. So it actually moved back 2 places or 2 places to the left. So hopefully I think the color coordinating of this will help.
Oh yes, definitely. For sure.
That way you can see what's happening. Let me see if I can get down here. So again, here's just a different parent. It's the parabola this time. What happens if I subtract 2? Well, when you look at this x squared on your calculator, you'll notice he starts at the origin and goes up. This one just dropped you down 2. Okay, so it moved me down 2 units. Whereas this one here, you see how the minus 2 is in the grouping, then it squared it. It actually took the graph and moved it 2 to the right. Okay. So that's all you're looking for is how did the new equation change the picture of the old equation? That's all you're doing. That's what we call transformations.
Cool.
All right, so here's one that I put the parent on there for you. Okay. Now, you see all this stuff right here? If you were to take out all the numbers, you'd be left with x squared, and that's it. Because if you took out the +1 and the -4, it'd look like this, wouldn't it?
Yep.
Okay, that's the parent. So when those numbers come in, that's what's changing the way this thing looks. So the red one, here's the parent. This is how he should look, right? I'll just graph him on my calculator and look to see what he did. And then when I go and graph this one, x plus 1 squared minus 4, in my y2 for my calculator, I'll get the purple one. Well, how did the purple one change from the red one? Well, it looks like it went down, right?
Mhm.
And it looked like it went 1 over to the left. So I'm just looking at the vertex right here and following it to see where the new vertex is. What they're trying to teach us is that how can you look at this equation and decide if it's going to go up, down, left, or right? That's what they're asking us to look for. This one on the outside of the function is always easy. Whatever he says is going on, that's what's going on. He says minus 4, that's a vertical shift. That's what made your picture go down 4. Okay, so you can either answer the vertical shift as -4, or you can write it as down 4.
Okay.
Okay, this horizontal shift is the one that's tricky, because when you're inside the group, before the parent gets done, it's always opposite of what you read. So here I read +1, but you'll see on the graphing calculator, dang, it moved it left 1. You would have thought it would have moved it to the right, because plus usually means to the right. But when it happens with X right in here, it's actually opposite. So this +1 becomes -1, which means it moved it to the left. You're going to have your graphing calculator. You're going to be able to see if the picture moved left or right. Okay. You're going to be able to see if the picture moved up or down. So you can verify that just by looking at the calculator itself. So that's what they're trying to teach us in this section, is just how do these transformations change the way our graph looks? That's all they're trying to do.
So anything in the parentheses will do the opposite.
You got it.
Cool.
Here's a different parent. This parent is the absolute value graph. He has bars around his variable. Well, look what happened over here. In the bars, they snuck in with a -2.
Mm.
Since it's inside the parent,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to read this as +2. The horizontal shift is a +2, or it moves my picture right 2, because it's inside the parent. Okay, this +3 is what you get. He says you're going to move your picture up 3 then. Again, your calculator will show you which thing. That's why I'm graphing the parent here in red.
Mm.
And can you see that on the calculator, you would have graphed this green one here? And can you see where that point right there, the red, what we call vertex, moved over 2 units to the right, and then it moved up 1, 2, 3. It moved up 3, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So that's how 2 to the right comes from inside of here, and up 3 came from the outside of the function. It's always the vertical shift right there.
How do we make the absolute bars on the calculator?
Sure. When you go to the calculator, you go to math,
Mm-hmm.
and num, N-U-M,
Mhm.
and then it should be the number 1 option, I think, ABS.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Yep.
Okay. So that's where that's located. I'll go back and I can redocument these and put that on here to remind everybody.
Thank you.
Okay. That's the other thing too that I'm thinking now about testing is that, you know, in the past, you've been able to ask me questions about where's such and such on the calculator. And that's something that you're really going to need to get a little bit better on. Okay. So that you can see these things. So we're not going to be looking at too many of them on the test. Actually, we're going to be looking at the parabola. So that's the x squared. And then we'll be looking at the square root on your calculator. That's about the only 2 we're going to have on the test. We're showing here that this kind of works with everything. Okay. Even in my pre-cal class, we have these same kind of things going on, and they're kind of in the same position too. So we just look to see what's going on with the variable in the problem. If it's inside the function, then it's the opposite of what's going on. And then outside the function, it's always for real, whatever he says. That's always vertical out there.
I have a question.
Sure.
So I know we're supposed to be really familiar about like
the parents
and better about that, but how, like, you looked at that algebraic expression and you knew that that was a function.
Mhm.
y equals x squared or whatever it was. Like, how are you doing that, I guess is my question.
Oh,
How
okay.
are you recognizing that that is that parent function on number 4?
Got you. Well, back here on 3, where we have this one, a lot of times what I would do if I wasn't sure who the parent was, it's all these numbers here like the +1 that's moving the graph and the -4. So if you were to put your fingers on top of those and hide them from yourself, you'd be left with x squared. That's the parent. Okay? If you do that on number 4 and hide the numbers, so the -2 is gone and the +3 out here is gone, you would have bar x bar. So that's how I know that's the parent.
Okay, and at that point, you just pay attention to the whole numbers, what they're doing to give
Exactly.
you where to go on the graph. Okay.
Exactly. And so once you I always, like I said, when I go to graph, I always let the parent function show up first. That's always my Y1, and I'll get him to graph. That's pathetic. And then in Y2, I'll graph this one, and I'll say, okay, how did the second graph change from the first one? Well, it looks like it moved over so many and up so many. Find you a point that you can find back from the first graph to the second graph, find that same point. And whatever changes you had to make, that's what your transformations are.
Okay, and then you were saying inside the function, outside the function, like -2 is inside and
That's
3
right.
is outside. What, how are you getting that?
Yeah, you can look at 3 and 4 at the same time, I think, on your screen, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay. And so when I'm talking about inside the parent function and outside the parent function, inside, you see how the x is not squared yet because they have a +1 hanging on to it.
Mhm.
Since x is in the horizontal direction, that means that the horizontal, it's moved either left or right. So it's always the opposite of that sign. So here this says +1. So it's actually -1. And sure enough, if you look at the picture, this point in red sure did move over 1, didn't it? If you go down and find it, he moved 1 to the left. Okay. This outside of the function, this -4 and this +3 out here, just takes the picture itself and either scoots it up or scoots it down.
Okay, and that one is true to its sign.
It's true to its sign, exactly right. And that's always going to be the case. No matter what the picture looks like, outside here is the vertical. And so it either takes you up or down according to his sign.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay. The only one that ever gets changed, and there's a lot more to it actually, but the only one that actually gets changed is if for some reason they want you to change the x first and then the parent takes place, then it's moved it left or right. Okay.
And we always want to use the vertex to determine whether it's moved up or down or left or right.
Well, to me, that's more of an obvious point to kind of look at. That's the one I'll pick just to watch. Some of these won't have quote vertex to them, and so you just pick a point and see where that same point is on the other graph. Does that make sense? Like for example here in how about this point? When I graphed y equals absolute of x, I found out that 1, 1 was a point. Well, where did this point move on the green one? Okay, so he's just up on the diagonal from the origin here. So if I go to the vertex here and go up 1 diagonally, okay, there's my new point. So from the old point, I'd have to move 1, 2 over and then move 1, 2, 3 up. Sure enough. So 2 to the right and up 3.
Okay.
So you can take it from any point. I just try to pick one that's kind of unique in the picture and follow it. Now, sometimes that won't be as obvious. Let me show you. Let me see. Okay. Now, there's 2 different types of stretch and shrink here. I'll be honest with you, most people talk about the vertical shrink and stretch. Hardly anybody talks about the horizontal shrink and stretch, but I do want you to know they're different, okay? Most people think that when the multiplier is bigger than 1, it's always going to stretch you. That's true for vertical. You'll notice here for horizontal, when your stretcher is bigger than 1, it actually shrinks you. horizontally. Now this is weird, okay? But let's think of this. You've got a Coke can, okay? Now, when you take the Coke can and it's empty, when you step on it, what happens to the Coke can?
Crushes it.
You crush it. Okay, so now the height was like this, and whenever you step on it, the height went down, okay? All right, what happened to the width of the can? Just barely. It got wider, didn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah, so when you step on something, okay, it definitely will go down, but then when something goes down, it gets wider. And so that's why these are inversely related here. Let's look at a problem. And like I said, it's not that big of a deal. You've got a picture, you've got graphing calculators. We're going to be just fine.
Mhm.
All right. Here are 3 different graphs right here on the picture. Okay, I got kind of a purplish one, an orange one, and a green one. All right, the orange one is the parent. See how he's just plain x squared?
Mhm.
So the orange one is how the parent should look. That's the parent. Okay. Now, what's going to happen if you take, and this is read as, your function is now 1/4 as tall as x squared was. That's what that reads as. My function, my y, is now going to be 1/4 as tall as it used to be. And sure enough, when you plug in numbers like from a table of values, that's all I did is I just plugged all these numbers into the x and did them on my calculator. Okay. When I go and graph those, you see how flat looking this thing looks?
Mhm.
What happened when it got flat? Did it get wider?
Yeah.
It did, didn't it? Okay. So when your multiplier out in front of your parent is a number that's smaller than 1, okay, so it's right up here. Okay, if your multiplier is in front of your function and it's between 0 and 1, those are fractions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you just shrunk your graph vertically. You see how it went squished down? So anytime you take a piece of the graph, he's going to shrink in height. He's now a lot shorter, isn't he? Okay, inversely, he did get wider though, horizontally. So they're inversely related. When you look at what happens if we take 4 times our function, now this reads my y is going to equal to 4 times as big as it should have been, 4 times as big. Look at the numbers right here. You can't make a 0 any bigger than 0 when you times them, so that didn't move. But check out this. When I plugged in 1 for the parent, it gave me 1. When I plugged in 1 for my new green graph, it's a 4. It's 4 times as tall. Look what happens when 2 goes in. When 2 goes into the parent, he's equal to 4. But when 2 goes into this green function, now he's 16. What's the relationship between 4 and 16?
Squared.
Okay, it's squared. It also is 4 times as much, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. And so what happened then when I went over here to this green graph, the parent went over 1 up 1. The green graph went over 1 up 4. He's 4 times as tall at that point. Then my graph was too dang short because I couldn't show anything other than that, because what's going to happen if he goes 2 to the left or 2 to the right? How high up is the green one supposed to go if you go over to 2?
16.
16, yeah. And so if I went over to 2, if I go over to 2 here and I go up, well, see how my graph only goes to 8? So 16 would be way up here somewhere. So my graph wasn't big enough for me to actually show that. Okay, so these are what we call a vertical shrink, because it shrunk my graph's height. This is a vertical stretch. And I wrote these down in their light colors down here to kind of help. We say it's vertically shrunk by 1/4. This one was vertically stretched by 4. Just so that whenever you read the reading of it, it'll make more sense to you. Okay. Let me see who's in here. Oops. check on a couple of things real quick and see where everybody is. Okay. Okay, I'll come back to that in a minute. Okay. Let's see what else is down here. All right, here's one of the ones we've been working on also. So we're looking at on the test more about the x squared and the square root. Those are the two you want to focus most of your attention on. This one here, what happens if the 5 is with the x and not on the outside of the function? And see right here, this 5 is under the x in the function. So both of these are in the function themselves. This is where it works. I don't think you're going to have a problem identifying what's happening. Here's the original function in green. There's the parent. Okay. The red one here is the graph of R. So when the 5 is up underneath here, what did this do? Can you describe the red graph compared to the green one?
Went higher.
There you go. The red one's higher. Okay. And when this function got higher, it's because we're taking its picture and we're shoving it back to kind of like make it squeeze. We're squeezing it back is what we're doing. Okay. So what happened here, even though it looks taller, what's the inverse of getting taller? Remember our Coke can?
Wider.
If you make it shorter, what happens to your width?
Wider.
It gets wider. So this is actually a horizontal shrink by the square root of 5. Okay. It actually got shorter. Yes, it got taller. I understand totally. Okay. But it also shrunk backwards. Okay. Because see, this is what the picture looks like normally. He's slow. He does not get high hardly ever. He doesn't reach this amount right here until out at 25. That's how long it takes him to get out there. So they literally took his picture and just shoved it back. And all of a sudden he just buckled up.
So
Where's this
he
one
went-
here? Go ahead.
So he went like this. the red one?
Exactly, right.
Okay.
What happened was he keeps one of his, where the origin is, he keeps it still, and he'll take the other one and he'll crush it towards there. Well, when he does, it kind of buckles up. Okay, so even though it got taller, that's what our eyeball is going to say, it actually went horizontally. He shrunk him so that he would pop up higher faster. Okay.
And this happens when the number is on the inside of the
Right,
square
when
root.
he's a multiplier, right. So here this says, the square root of 5 times x. If it had said 5 plus x, then it would have been what we were dealing with earlier, and that's where you and I would have moved the picture left or right. So pluses and minuses inside move you left and right. Multipliers inside are going to take you and either shrink you down horizontally or they'll stretch you way out. Okay.
Okay.
And it's backwards to what you think would happen. You see a big 5 there and you're like, well, this thing ought to get taller, faster. That's not what's happening really. It's because it's shoving that picture back horizontally. And so that's what's making him pop up. Look at what happened to the blue one. The blue one says that x was divided by 5. Well, when you divide by 5, that makes your number smaller, doesn't it?
Right.
Look at the right here. If you look at, you can't make a 0 any smaller than 0, but look, it took the 1 and now it's barely 0.4. It took square root of 5, which is more than 2, and made it only a 1 now. And so it took all these original numbers and made them a lot shorter. So it made him shorter. Well, what happens when you take a graph and you make him shorter? He gets longer. Okay. And so that's why here it seems backwards to us. It says that when you divided by 5, the horizontal stretch happened. You actually stretched him.
Okay.
This is the one that's the hardest to kind of get into, okay? I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to test you over the horizontal stretch and shrink. I'm testing you over what we were doing up here, okay? When it's a vertical stretch, it'll be a number greater than 1. If it's a vertical shrink, it will be a fraction smaller than 1. That's what I'll use, okay?
So on the test, we'll just need to fill in the graph and then graph it as well, kind of like what we're doing here.
On the test itself, the question I have on there is just to describe what's going on. And that's all I've asked you to do with it.
So we would
It's
have
a lot of
to write, oh,
this
it's
is a lot of
vertical
material to
front
kind of
Yeah.
cover for the
Yeah.
test question. But
Mhm.
remember, I'm covering everybody. Those people who are going up higher, they need to know a little bit more about transformations.
You said if it's what did you say again? If it's what?
If it's for vertical,
Yes.
yeah, for vertical transformations, if you have a number that's smaller than 1 times your parent, then you're going to have a vertical shrink. That's what happened with the blue graph or purple graph over here. And then if your number multiplier is bigger than 1 for the function, then it's going to get taller faster. That's the green one.
Okay, thank you.
Stretch.
Here's where things get a little bit different. This tests us whether or not we understand kind of what's going on. Number 7 here happens to be one of those that's a horizontal one. So you can read it for what it's worth. Since the 4 is inside with the X, that's what's taking the picture now and going to make him horizontally shrink. He's going to shrink for us. And so you see the picture in the black versus the picture in the purple. All I did was I took each one of these points and I went in there and I moved them 4 times closer. So this one here was at 4 on the x-axis. And all I did was I moved him to 1 because 4 divided by 4 is 1. So that would have moved him closer. So that's what I did with all these points in the black. Notice that their height did not change at all. Their height doesn't change. This was still down at -1. He's still down at -1. This one's up at 1. He's still up at 1. Okay. It's when this number is attached to the X, that's when the X's are changing. Okay, they're changing with each other. Again, you could put it on your calculator if you knew what the function was. You don't know what the function is this time, though. That's the problem. Let's get to some of the ones that we would see more often. There's one last transformation here, and that's reflect across the x-axis and reflect across the y-axis. Okay. Some of them you can tell, some of them you can't really tell. I thought this was a really good explanation here. All right, they gave me this graph. They didn't tell me who it was, so I can't use my calculator. But this is what they're calling me, the parent. The next one in green says, what if your y was equal to -1? That's what that means, -1 times your f. That would take each one of these points. And what changed between the black and the green? Can you tell?
It's reflected.
It's reflected, right? It took all the points that were above the x-axis and literally just shoved them down, right? The same distance. Now you can't shove anything on the x-axis down below the x-axis because it stays there. So the origin is still there. But where this point is 1, 1, now our point is 1, -1.
Cool.
So this means reflect about the x-axis, make my y's negative. And to me, this is how it reads. Y is negative. That's what that means. Okay. So to me, that one's a little more obvious. It's the blue one that's the troublemaker. Where's the negative?
Inside.
Inside. Okay. Remember, anytime something's inside, it's affecting x's. So check what happens. Here's the black graph. Everything was over here in the first quadrant, wasn't it? And in the first quadrant, everything for the x's are positive, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
What's this function tell you to do? Make your x's what?
Negative.
Negative. Yeah, he says that. So we would come over here and say, well, 0, 0, You can't make a 0 negative, so he just stays where he is. Okay. This 0.11 is now going to be -1, right? Up 1. So this time, what doesn't change?
The y,
The
X.
y's aren't changing. That's right. That's right. Okay. And see here in the green, the x's were just plain x's. So that meant my x's don't change. Out inside here, my y is negative. So in this original graph, the x's stay the same. The y's went negative. Over here, this says your x's are now negative. What do you say about your y? Your y is not going to change, is it? It's still the same as it used to be. Okay. So sometimes it's just learning how these things are read that'll help you. All right. In your homework, I'm not going to give you one on your test, okay? But in your homework, you definitely have things like this that are generic. Like here's a generic picture. Can you do the reflection and stuff like that to it? Okay. Let me get to where I'm going to pretty much head off to. This is a summary of all the different transformations we just talked about. Okay. This is all of them in one-stop shopping. That's all that is. Okay. This is what we're going to be looking at. Okay. There's a number in front of the parent, there's a number in the parent, and there's a number on the outside of the parent. So that means 3 things are going on. Okay. If you were to hide all those numbers from yourself, what's the parent?
Absolute
X.
bar
That's right.
X.
Absolutely. That's right. Bar X bar. That's right. It's the absolute value of X. Sure enough, there's the parent. Okay. That's what his picture normally looks like. Okay. You can graph him as your Y1 on your calculator. You could go straight into your calculator now and say Y2 is this big thing right here immediately. Okay. Now, the one thing that's hard to tell is what does this number in front of the parent always do? Well, he's going to be your vertical stretch or your vertical shrink. It's going to be one or the other. These other guys, you're going to be able to see them happening. That won't be hard for you. Okay.
How can you tell the difference when it's vertical and horizontal? Like, is it once you plot it on the graph, you know?
Kind of, sort of. This stretch and shrink thing is always going to be in front of your parent. Okay, so here my parent's the bars. So in front of the bars is a 2. So I know he's going to stretch my graph twice as tall. That's his job. These guys here, the one with the X is the one that always tells you if it's going to go left or right, because the X-axis goes left and right. This number out here is going to tell you what happens to the graph up and down. This is always the Y out here. So let's take a point of interest here. How about the origin? See where that point is? All right, let's follow him. Here he is on the big graph. Okay, where is it now?
0.
On the new graph.
Origin.
It is
Oh.
1 down, 1, 2, 3, 4. -1, -4.
Okay, so it went 1 to the left, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And then 1, 2, actually 3. Okay, 3 down.
Oh, 3. Oops.
Okay, so 1 to the left and 3 down. Now let's go back to our problem up here. Where did those numbers come from?
The X and the Y.
Oh, okay.
The
-1
one
is plus
to the
1.
left
one
comes
came-
from here,
yeah.
doesn't he? Because he's always opposite inside, like Aubrey was saying.
Mhm.
And where did the go down 3? Well, that's on the outside, isn't it?
I see.
Mhm.
So this point that should have been at the origin is now 1 to the left and 3 down. So that's how you get the horizontal, the X, and the vertical Y changes about the graph. Now what's hard to see on this graph, you see how he's a little bit thinner than the original,
Yep.
but he's taller, isn't he? Which means he gets taller faster is what I mean. Okay, not that they both shut down here. That's not what I mean. I mean that here he goes up 2 and over 1, up 2 and over 1, up 2 and over 1. So he's really getting higher fast. This guy's originally is up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. So he's getting twice as tall. That's what that means right there. So what I plan to do is I plan to give you something like this, okay, and ask you what transformations are taking place. That's all I'm going to ask you. And then, so what you're going to need to do is decide, okay, who's my parent? I'm going to put in my calculator. Here's my new guy. I'm going to go ahead and type him in too. Now I'm going to compare them. Okay. The reason I knew there was 3 things happening here is because there's 1 number, 2 numbers, 3 numbers. That's how I knew 3 things were happening. Okay. It doesn't get any harder than that. Promise.
Cool. All right.
All right. So here's one with our square root. Okay.
Wait,
We've been
the
working with
last-
our square root functions. All right, now this one's tricky. And like I said, I don't plan on giving you anything super tricky. I just need to explain this one to you though, to let you know how it happened. Not a one of us should not be able to figure out the parent. Take that number, cover it with your finger. Take this number, cover it with your finger. That sign also has to be covered. And it would be the square root of x. That's my parent. So you're covering everything up except for where the variable is housed, and that's it. So there's his picture originally. Three of the transformations you should be able to figure out with not too much trouble, okay? First thing, the minus out in front. This says my y's are now negative. That's what that means. So every one of these y's that were up in the first quadrant are now going to have to be down, right? That's what it means for y to go negative. What's this 1/2 going to do to you?
That's your vertical strength.
That's right. That's right. And since it's a number smaller than 1, he's going to actually be a vertical shrink. Right. So you see how tall he got? It wasn't very tall, but he got up to the number 2 at 4. Over here, he would have only gotten up to the number 1 at 4 because he only gets half as tall. Right here, this 3 inside, this is where it gets a little tough because it says 3 minus x, and we're used to having our x first. The horizontal shift is a 3. You would have been able to tell that from your graphing calculator. When you graph the parent and this one here, can you see that this origin point here actually now starts the graph over here at 4 to the right, or 3 to the right rather? Can you tell? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And so that's how I know it horizontally shifted 3 to the right. Do you see how this graph started the origin and went to the right? In our picture on the calculator, it started and went which way? It's going to the left. Now this is the one that I told you that was kind of shaky here. He actually reflected about the y-axis this time. He said everything that's to the right of the y is down to the left of the y. He reflected it, and it's this minus sign right there in front of x that did it. Okay. My approach to you on this problem would be, and like I said, this one's harder, I think, but my approach would be figure out who your parent is, graph him, take the graph that we've given you, graph him. Now describe the differences between the two of them, okay? You can do that. And again, your homework will probably be harder than your test, okay? So that's why I want you to use those. Yes, you use those help menus, okay?
Dr. House, I have a question.
Sure.
So on the Zoom, it says it's recording. Does that mean we can pull this video up again and rewatch you do it again?
Yes. Once we stop our meeting, I'll be able to go in there and get the link as soon as they send it to me.
Okay.
They're a little bit backed up, but as soon as they send me the link, then I'll post the link for you. Sure.
No, that'll be great. Just because repetition for me is great.
Oh, absolutely. I agree.
On the homework, a lot of the graphs are ridiculous.
Yeah, they are.
Like I literally could not, even if I had the best eyesight in the world, like graph them. So do you want us to just not stress about those ones? And
Right. I read your comment before, and I was like, oh God, I know what you're talking about. And My math lab is so much easier because you can actually type in the points you want it to actually graph. This one here,
Like,
you're
I
having to
have
eyeball it.
down on my paper, and so I know the points, but I just
Good.
cannot graph to cooperate.
For things like that, I can take care of it. On my end, I can gloss over that for the homework. Yeah.
Okay.
So if I can see that you've attempted it, and that's what by the time probably end of this week, I'll probably be able to go through the homeworks and say, okay, oh yes, this problem was correct. Because I remember like I said, your comment on some of the problems. I was like, yeah, I can go back in there and recover it.
Okay.
Dr. Haas, for the homework, which one is the last one for test 2?
Okay, so new homework, this one 2.6, that's what we're looking at now, and 2.7.
Okay, because I have a question, and I mean,
Sure.
so with the homework that was due on the 1.6,
Mhm.
because of all of for all my moving and stuff, I didn't have a computer till Sunday afternoon, and
Okay.
I only missed one half of one question, and it gave me 85%.
Okay.
And I don't know if you can look into that, just because
Sure.
I didn't have a computer available or internet
Yeah.
set up until literally that evening.
Absolutely. Anything that was kind of due right in that area, just shoot me an email.
Okay,
And
I will.
that'll remind me to go look too.
Okay.
But yeah, like I said, we're going to be flexible
Okay.
as much as we can. The due
For
dates are
sure.
there simply so that y'all don't procrastinate. Okay. I cannot let you not have a due date because people won't do their
Yeah.
stuff. So I'm having to play both ends of it. I've got a due date for you. This is when I'd like for you to try to get it done. If something comes up, you notify me and I'll work with you.
I'll message you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't want you to sweat over that kind of stuff. That's not what's the most
I'm
important.
usually good at doing everything on time. We just literally
Oh,
gave
sure.
me 85% for half of a question being wrong, where I'm like, come on.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. Well, it's still set up for what is it? 10% late. That's what it's set up for. So,
Yeah.
but again, if you will trust me enough, as long as you attempt the homework, okay,
Yes.
then I got you.
Okay.
Okay, I got your back.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Oh yeah, that's not a problem. There's going to be a lot of trying to make sure that at the end it's a formative grade, which means you'll have raw grades because you're supposed to. But then I've told you from the beginning and before this happened that I look at you as a whole picture. I really do, and I will continue to do that.
For the sit, for the ones that we've already completed, do you want us to email you pictures of the sheet?
Yeah, we'll take care of that.
And I don't know if you want to do
How
that
about
later
the
in the
last week of
semester.
May?
Okay.
Yeah, let's just do
Okay.
it at the last week of May. All the sits, I put the new, hopefully you found it in Canvas. I tried to move everything that was
didn't
super
find
important.
it.
Oh,
That's
you
what I was
didn't?
gonna ask you.
was looking
I
for-
couldn't find. I found the old schedule, but I know the new one's all different now.
Yeah, I was looking for
Yeah.
that for the online one and I couldn't find it.
Let me,
And I just could be. It's just so many emails have come in.
I know,
Yeah.
believe me.
Everything's
I'm
buried
Right there
in
with you.
pictures.
Let me see if I've got it on my screen somewhere. Let's go here. All right, let me get rid of this.
Well, if you go to modules, it say the new online sit sessions.
Let me see.
That's where it should be.
Yeah,
Okay, there. Okay, I'm
clicked
sorry.
that.
I found it. So sit.
Okay, so I moved can y'all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so I moved everything to the top five things here, the things that you need to be looking at. The important information about moving to online, our office hours right now, like I said, I'm using these kind of like as office hours, and we can go to whatever time we need to, but this is what I've got set up. But if you can't make it at this time, don't sweat it, okay? Just keep emailing me, that's fine. Here's the syllabus changes.
Okay.
And here's all the sit sessions now.
Okay.
And everything's gone online. So people who were doing it face-to-face, now they didn't need me, so I didn't do one. But everything that's in here, let's see. I put the attendance log back in there because some of you haven't been able to do any of them yet. But up here's the sit online schedule. This is the one you want. Okay.
That's what I was looking for. Okay.
So how
And
will that work with us? Like going through the thing online, like with this session? Do we
Mhm.
just click it and will they email you or like what?
yes, I'm trying to think who had asked me about this, but someone asked me about this just a few minutes ago. And what you'll do is you'll go to whatever day. Let's say you want to go
Okay.
today, and you want to go at 2:00. Well, then you'll go to the Zoom meeting right here.
Okay.
Click it. It takes you straight in. Whoever is the host of that Zoom meeting will ask you, what's your teacher's name? And so you'll type in your name and my name.
Okay.
And so like just Jackie, I got yours that you went yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay. So Catherine Duke was the instructor, and she emailed me and said, you had a student here with me. Her name is, and so I knew exactly when Jackie went. So that's how I know.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay, good.
Will
Now,
you?
what you do is you go back to that. Let me see if I can get back in there.
To the old form and fill it out.
Go to
still?
this attendance form, right?
Okay.
Go ahead and print you out an attendance form,
Okay.
and then you can just even type on this one or whatever. But then send me a shot of it later, and I'll
Okay.
ask for them later on in May. Okay.
Okay.
But yeah, you can do as many as you want to. I think Thomas is in the lead with like 1,000 already. But these are going to help a whole lot because we know that you're going to need extra help.
Yes.
Okay. So even though there's a lesson that can be done that day, most of us are now just decided, hey, let's just answer the students' questions about the material.
And it's been helpful. Really helpful.
They are very helpful. Okay. And we all pretty much, we talk a little differently, but for the most part, we do the stuff the same. Okay.
Is the math
So with
lab
this
going on?
log, we'll be able to document what sit session we join in on, right? Even if it's
Exactly.
not online.
Right. Like right now, what I'm doing is as I receive the emails, I have a sheet of paper going right now, and I've got, since online classes started, I've got Jackie's name at 323 with Catherine Duke. So I've already got her on there with who she was with and what the
And do
date
we still
was.
need to email you? Because I thought before we had to email you and kind of give you like a like 2-3 sentences explaining what we learned in that sit session. Are we doing that same thing?
That
Or
wasn't that for the not the sit. That was for
Yeah.
the those trainings, those hour trainings, right, or whatever. I can't
Yeah.
remember
If
the
you
name.
went to one of the workshops,
Yeah, the workshops.
that's when you would do that.
so whenever we do these new sit sessions on Zoom, we don't have to do that then?
No, they're strictly for your learning purposes, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Okay.
I have a question.
Sure, go for it.
Are math labs going online? Is the math
Yes.
lab going online? Okay, and so
Yes.
I can figure out ways to make sure they were doing that.
I think that, let's see, here it is. Okay, so in that first paper that I had important information,
Yes.
here is for those of you who need connection to the Access Center. There it is. If you want to speak to counseling, you can. But here's online math lab and writing lab tutorials. And let me open it for you real quick. Okay, so Jill has, this is the link that you'll want to go to. This is your link. Okay, and it's live. You can go straight from this document. You can, hold on, maybe not. Here we go. Here it is down there again too. These are what they call virtual appointments. Okay, I don't know why there's another sheet, sorry. The window is like a 30-minute window and 15-minute windows. And you can go and ask for help, I think twice a day is how they've got it set up right now. You will talk to one of the tutors in the McKinney lab. So it's almost like you're there, okay? But they can help you, yeah.
Okay.
How about
Okay.
the library? Do you know if the library is open? Because I thought I had gotten an email saying that it was going to be open.
Yeah, it's
Is
closed.
that, they closed it now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got that email too, and I was kind of
Yeah.
confused. For those of us who check calculators out from the library, do you know if, I mean, am I being charged because I can't return it, or
No, they can't do that. I guess you got lucky.
Yeah.
If you don't have a graphing calculator, email me and I can hook you up with what they call the emulator, like what I use in the classroom, and they're giving free subscription to it
Ooh,
for
that thing
6
is
months.
nice.
And so just email me and I'll send you that link. I can try to, I may try to post it on here too. I could do that too.
Will we need to do anything? Remember when we were doing matrices and we had to go to the math lab to upload on the calculator? Will we be doing any of that anymore? Because that's not valid.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, that's going to be a problem, you know,
Okay.
and that's what we've tried to, what's going on right now is that we're looking long term here. And so let's say we don't get back to campus for final exams. So that means the final's online. Now, do we want our final that we've been using as a department to go online? Probably not. So it may be where we're in charge of our own final. If I'm in charge of my own final, then I'm not going to have anything that requires row ops for any reason.
Yeah, because
So,
as of now, like I know like TWU, because I'm
huh?
going there next semester, they
Yeah.
send me a letter that it's online already in the summer. They're not even going to open campus in TWU.
Wow.
So just so you know, like there's a couple, like I know for instance, like Wiley ISD, they're closing all the way until the end of the no more school this year, no
Yep,
matter what.
UNT up here, they close.
So
UNT's
that's
closed.
just so you know, as a
Yeah.
professor, like I'm getting from other universities that I either like, I know same thing with like a couple out of state universities. I have cousins that got sent home already, like from Utah. I have cousins at BYU, and
Yeah.
they're already home, and they're not going to be going back the rest of the year.
Yeah. I think a lot of almost all the universities now have kind of said that that's
Yeah.
it. Now, some of them are still having school totally online.
Yeah, but
I know like
online.
in Oklahoma, the public schools, K through 12, they've decided just to stop school, period.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like just passing them.
Well, kind of, sort of, yeah.
So whatever your grade is, you take that grade basically.
Yeah, yeah, that's kind of how it is,
Dang.
yeah.
That's what I was saying. Like, that's crazy because what happens if people are failing? Like, it's people out here that are failing, like, especially in college. I have cousins that are, like, failing right now. And
Oh, yeah, yeah, and we don't want that to happen. And it's like my opinion of what's happening in my classroom has not changed. You need to work hard.
No, yeah,
You work
for
hard.
sure.
I work hard. We work hard together, and we'll get through this.
Yeah.
Okay. I still have people who have like a 13 in homework average. Does that tell me you're working hard? Not really. So,
Right.
but I've got people who are working. Okay, and so
Yeah.
that's what I need. You know, you just continue on with that.
Okay, yeah. Just because yeah. Just thinking of like, because the whole thing with the calculator is like, I don't even think we're gonna have the call-in open up this year and until
Guess I have a new calculator then.
for now you do, right?
Congratulations.
Okay.
I totally forgot that people even had those. That's
I
funny.
check it out every 5 days because I just don't want to buy one, and I'm
I
like,
don't blame you.
I don't know what to do
Yeah.
now.
This is the newest version of the syllabus that I posted online for you too in
Okay.
modules. And I just said that everything that's in blue is the change. I
The
hate that I
change,
use
yeah.
blue. When you print it, if you print this out, you can't hardly dang read it. So I apologize.
That's fine.
But you can kind of see that, you know, we've got stuff and we'll try to follow it the best we can. Okay.
I don't know if anybody's asked you about labs. Are we gonna get those still?
Oh yeah.
No.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Lord.
just
I mean,
Wow.
yeah, we just need to keep this simple.
Simple.
Okay.
Y'all don't need to say that. Simple.
And, you know, like I said, I've got two groups. I've got my one group that says, you know, Hail Mary, after this, I'm done. And then I've got my other group that says, I need this as a foundation to go further. So I'm going to do my very best to get both groups taken care of. And like I said, you put the effort in, I'll put my effort in, and we'll get there. I promise.
Thank you
we
so
will.
much, Dr. Ross. I appreciate it.
Well, I've got some people who have just, you know, they haven't even bothered to talk with me or some of my other colleagues. And I mean, they're just dropping like flies. Don't do that. No.
Yeah.
Don't drop
Because
because
you never know what may happen.
exactly. Plus, you need to make sure that you've invested half of the semester already.
Oh no, too much time already.
It is.
Yeah,
It is.
like we went through a lot face
We
to
did.
face. So
We did. You can't just
online.
drop it. No.
No.
Now I've got, like I said, I got somebody in one of my other classes. He hadn't shown up since God, I don't know when, and so he finally came through with a drop. So I was happy to see that one because I was like, oh, thank God. Well, he was gonna fail. There was no way to pass. So
Yeah.
I was happy about.
Oh my God.
He saved himself from a bad grade.
Yeah.
So, but
Not for real.
we're going strong. Just keep going strong. Keep getting a hold of me. I told my class this morning I'm available almost 24/7. Okay, yes, I do sleep, but like if you have a question at 6 o'clock tonight, you send it to me. Okay, if you have one at 11 o'clock at night, there's a chance I might be up because I got hooked on a show. I can't watch with my kids around, so I'm kind of
Right,
like,
I've been watching that.
let me tell you, there's some good ones out there. Okay, but
What's the best way to get a hold of you? Through Canvas or strictly through your email?
either one.
Either one?
I would say
Canvas is
The
fast.
I would say
email's
Canvas.
great.
Yeah, I would say Canvas is great, of course. If something happens, go straight to the email. And if you're on Connect Math, then come straight from
Message
there.
you.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Show
I
us-
just need to make sure that you're checking all of them because some professors say, "Oh, only email me because I don't check everything else." Or
No. No, because who knows? Something could go down. So no, I want you to have
On
as many
on
ways to
our-
get to me as you can.
on
Go
our
ahead.
last quiz, I would love to see what I missed on that, just so I can. The quiz helped me for the test.
Same.
So is there a
Sure.
way that, and I hate to even ask because I know it's a burden, but is there a way that you can, for the ones that want it, maybe we can email you, can email us a screenshot of the test? I just don't know how else. I would love to see what I need to work on because that helps me out a lot.
I understand. They're up at school,
Okay. They're in school right
and
now. No worries then. No worries. If they're in school, they're in school. I don't want to make you go to school,
no. It's not very far anyway. But if I can get on campus, which I've told them I need to get like my calculator chargers up there.
Yes.
These things don't use batteries; they
Yeah.
use the charger. So
Yeah.
I have to get up there. So I'll make a note to grab those,
Okay.
and I'll try to. I'm trying to think what's tomorrow, Wednesday. I might be able to get up there tomorrow. Okay,
Yeah,
and
because I
if
would love
so,
to see
I'll
it
grab
for the
them.
test,
Oh,
because
sure.
that last quiz had a lot of good information.
Okay. What I may do too, what may be more helpful, I think, but see if this makes sense. I might be able to find a copy of it on my flash drive. I
Okay.
can print it and then make it available to you with
Okay.
worked out solutions. How about
Yeah,
that?
either yeah. I don't
Yeah.
As long as
Okay.
I have the worked out solutions, I can see it. Because yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, they weren't as good as I thought they would be, but I'm almost hesitant to let you see mistakes that you made
Yeah.
versus why don't I come across with this is how we would do it. How about that?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And again, I had to put a grade down. I had to put the grades in the 0314.
Yeah.
It's just they're just numbers right now. That's all they are.
Okay.
They don't mean anything to me.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry.
No, you're
Could you-
fine.
Could you show us where to locate the videos or the notes with audio?
It's on the resources in Connect Math.
Right. So if you go to Connect Math, I thought I had it up. It doesn't look like I do.
Yeah, Connect Math, then resources, and then
At the
videos.
top, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so like on the top of Connect Math, there's the 4 bars: home, gradebook, messages, resource. You click on resources, and then right under that has practice, videos, reference, course files.
Yeah, and they say like start this assignment for the practices and all that.
And there's a lot of videos.
There's a ton. So I'll tell you what I'll do. Right after this, I will post something that one of the teachers finally sent to me that has just the sections that we're covering. Okay. But yeah, I put this in your announcements right here so you could like see it. So you go to resources, which is right here.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so here's some practice problems. You call them up by chapters. So like we're in chapter 2 right now. So if you wanted to do some more wanted some more practice with transformations, you would go to this right here and preview an assignment. There's a buttload of questions here that you can practice on. Okay, you just do start assignment, you can go through them. Okay, so there's where you can get extra from. And then next to that is videos. This is done by section, so it's not too bad. So there's the chapter we're in. The section number that we just looked at was section 6. And here are you have, let's see, a lecture. Here's exercises that they practice through with you. There's lecture again, more exercises to practice with you. Okay.
Perfect.
And then I think course files is the other one I told you about. Here should be, do y'all see this one on y'all's?
On the course files?
On
Yeah.
course files? Okay. So this thing here, don't edit it, but you can do a download of the exam final review. Do y'all see that
cool.
one?
Nice.
So
Good.
that's kind of what, I hate to say work backwards, but I would definitely have that printed out for myself. And, as you're going through some stuff, I'm good at this, I'm good at this. I have no idea how to do this and so forth. Okay.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Let me see hold on just a second. Okay. Gotcha. All right. Yay, Virginia. I'm glad you found it. Okay. Don't forget about your ebook. Okay. I know you don't want it. Sometimes you can get overloaded with supplements, and I'm trying not to do that to you. But honestly, when you get into the chapter, it has a lot of practice things already done for you. And so if you'll go to your section number, it'll bring you straight up where it needs to be, and you can go through there and do some practicing too. Okay. It has some of the videos embedded. Okay, so that's a video right there. There's a video right there
nice.
also. So to me, I like using the ebook video because I know exactly where I am. And see here, you can see how all of your basic functions were made. They just plugged in a table of values. That's all they did. And like they color coordinated, I did too. Okay. The textbook's not a bad thing, I promise you, but I love the fact that they have all of these things right in there for you. These kind of things, I didn't find them all that helpful. Let me see if I can get it to come up real quick. But it's kind of like what I'm doing with you also. Okay, so just one problem is what she's looking at right here.
I actually have a question about the function. When in your notes, when you input it in the graph, it was actually, could you pull it up, because I don't know exactly how to.
Absolutely. Okay. Oh no, that's not the one I want. There's 2.7. How about oh, here it is. Okay. Let me see if I can get him back in here now. Well, crud. I don't know where he went to.
Doug.
Hold on, I'm sorry. Can you see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay. So could you go up to the graphs where we have to write in the numbers that we
Oh, sure.
the table?
The table? Sure. Let's do
Okay.
one like this one here. Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Okay, so well, actually, could you go down to number 6?
Sure. Okay.
All right. How did you write in the God? Okay, so like if you look at the left table, number one under X, and then you go into, you see in red, it's square root of 5, and it's got like a squiggly and 2.2.
Mhm.
How did you do that? How
Oh,
did you
okay.
come up with that number?
Do you know how I got the square root of 5?
I'm
First-
guessing from the
Yeah, you take
thing
the
above.
X is 1, right? And then you go into the R function and you put a 1 in here. So that's the square root of 5 times 1. So that's the square root of 5.
It's the literal square root of 5.
Right. And so if you put, I did this so that I would kind of know where to go plot my point. On the calculator, if you do the square root of 5, it's about 2.2. That's
Okay.
that little squiggly just means approximately 2.2.
Okay.
So then that helped me go over here to 1 and then up a little bit above 2. And then that's how I knew how to plot that point. That's the only reason I did that. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. So I guess my overall question is, when we go to write down the points in the graph or the table, I mean, we're just putting y equals in our graphing calculator.
Mhm.
And then so for the parent graph, it was y equals square root of x.
Mhm.
And then if we're going to get all of our numbers to put there.
Well, like in your calculator, if you put y1 is equal to the square root of x, and then you go to your table feature, second graph,
Yeah.
then you'll start seeing a table, and it won't say the square root of 5. It'll say 5 and then 2.2 blah, blah, blah.
Right,
You know,
right.
okay, they're just nasty numbers, but I just needed something to kind of show you how I got my points. But you're really not going to care about the table when you're doing this, because what you want to do is you just want to look at it visually. You know, what happened from the parent graph to my square root of 5x graph? What's happened? What's gotten taller? But the reason it got taller is because it's been squished back, so it's actually been horizontally shrunk.
Okay.
That's really what you're interested in. I just did this so that you would know how I got the red, green, and blue on my graph, because I didn't have a
Right.
calculator to show you there.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay, I got it.
Sure. And I think as you go through the assignment, if you have questions, like I said, just, tag me and ask me questions about it. And what I'll try to do is everything that I write up as a response, I will go and post them into the module for test 2 as worked out problems, and then everybody can get to them that way too.
Okay. And then were you going to show us at the end of this how to put the bars on our graph, our graphing calculator?
I would if I had downloaded my calculator, but I didn't download it.
I have one right here if you want
Sweet.
to walk us through it.
Yeah, absolutely. That'll be cool. Okay, so basically we'll want to be in the y equal to menu.
Okay.
Okay, and then in order to get the absolute value bars to show up first, if you don't have a number in front of the absolute value bar, then you just go to the math key.
Okay.
Do you want me to just throw the laundry in there? Or in the dryer?
Sure.
And then go over to the right to num.
Okay.
And then the number 1 option is ABS. So if you'll select that one, and then it should give you the bars.
Mine just says ABS.
That's fine. ABS is good. So if it says ABS parentheses, that's acting as this is my left bar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So if for some reason the one that we were working on, I think had a number in front of it, didn't it?
Yeah, it was like 2x or something.
Gotcha. So here we go. So if it's this one, number 9, and it has a 2 in front, then the first thing we type is the number 2 for the y equals. We put a 2. Then we go to math, num, ABS, and that's acting as this first bar, okay?
Okay.
Then we'll type in x plus 1.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's up to us to close it with a parentheses, and that'll act as the right-hand bar.
Okay.
And then minus 3.
Okay. So math, number, ABS.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
And yeah, I totally forgot. The 83s do come up with an ABS spelling with the parentheses. And so that's the first bar. The second bar you have to put in by yourself, close it up with a parentheses.
Okay.
Good question. I totally forgot about that.
Well, thank you.
You bet. I would say dive into this, see what you can come up with, okay? I've already got the notes out there for Thursday. That's the analyzing a graph. I think you'll have lots of questions about that, but if you can get through this, mostly, then go ahead and take a look at the notes of 2.7, and that's analyzing a graph. It's got a lot of vocabulary, more so than anything, okay? And then regardless, we'll still look at it. The review is up there for you in module test 2 under modules, and you can thank Thomas. He found a missing page, or that there was a page missing. I guess when I scanned it in, I guess that the copier ate it. So I made a new page, and it's up there, and it's called the missing page. So if you go in there, you've got all the answers to your review.
Cool.
Okay. All right, y'all hang in there. We're gonna make it. Okay.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
We're gonna
Dr.
make
Haas.
it. Just
Yeah, thank you.
okay. And like I said, contact me whenever you need to. It's cool.
Will do.
Okay.
Right.
Say a prayer that I'm homeschooling my children also. Thank you very much.
Yeah, same here.
Good luck with that.
Yes, this is the easy part. That's the hard part. Okay. Well, I'll stop the recording. They'll send me an email pretty soon, and then I'll put it out there for you too as a link. Okay.
Will do. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. See you Thursday.
Okay, see y'all later.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
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 Bye.